a disabled elderly lady, and she just needs a lot of help getting her lawn back into shape. Otherwise, they're gonna have to charge her like $250 to have somebody come out and cut it.
On the surface, SB Mowing looks like one of the most positive corners of the internet. Overgrown lawns transformed, homeowners surprised with free help, millions of views pouring in. But behind the satisfying before and afters and viral praise, there's a deeper story most people never stop to consider. Because when a small lawn care business suddenly becomes a global brand, everything changes. The pressure, the expectations, the scrutiny. What started as simple acts of kindness quickly turned into something much bigger and far more complicated. So how did SB Mowing go from local mower to internet phenomenon? And what's the part nobody talks about? At first glance, nothing about SB Mowing looked revolutionary. It was just a lawn care business in Kansas, run by a guy willing to work long hours in the heat. Spencer wasn't chasing fame. He wasn't trying to become an influencer. He was focused on building a reputation the traditional way, tout, 1 yard at a time. But here's what most people don't realize. Before the cameras ever started rolling, he had already built years of real-world experience. He understood the grind. Early mornings, equipment breakdowns, knocking on doors, and hearing no more times than yes. That foundation mattered, because when the internet finally discovered him, he wasn't pretending to know what he was doing, he genuinely did. The decision to film his cleanups wasn't some master marketing scheme either. It started simple. Share the transformations, show the process, let people see how dramatic a yard can look with enough effort and patience. And that's when something unexpected happened. People didn't just watch, they connected. But the moment viewers started seeing him as more than just a lawn guy, everything shifted. The breakthrough didn't happen overnight, but when it did, it happened fast. One video started gaining traction, then another. Suddenly, clips of overgrown lawns being completely restored were pulling in millions of views across YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. What made it different wasn't loud commentary or flashy editing. It was the simplicity. There was something oddly satisfying about watching chaos turn into order. Tall weeds disappeared, sidewalks reappeared, edges looked sharp again, and most of the time, Spencer barely spoke. The sound of the mower, the steady trimming, the visible progress. It created a calm, almost hypnotic experience. Viewers found themselves watching until the very last blade was cut. But the real hook wasn't just the visuals, it was the people behind the properties. Many of these homes belonged to elderly or struggling homeowners who couldn't manage the work themselves. Seeing someone step in without demanding payment hit differently. It felt genuine. And in an online world filled with staged drama, that authenticity stood out. The audience grew rapidly, expectations grew with it. Because once millions of people start cheering you on for doing good, they begin expecting you to keep doing it. And that's when the pressure truly begins. That's when the tone of the channel quietly began to change. At first, the cleanups felt spontaneous. 1 yard at a time, no expectations attached. But as the views climbed into the millions, something else crept in. Responsibility. Viewers weren't just watching for satisfying transformations anymore. They were emotionally invested in the homeowners. They wanted updates. They wanted outcomes. They wanted to know that the help didn't stop when the camera did. And that shift carries weight. Helping someone privately is one thing. Helping someone in front of millions is different. Every decision becomes amplified. Every gesture is analyzed. The internet starts asking questions you never anticipated. Some praised the visibility, saying it inspired others to step up in their own communities. Others quietly wondered whether filming vulnerable homeowners blurred a line. Was it awareness? Was it inspiration? Or was it content? Spencer didn't jump into comment wars. He didn't post defensive explanations. Instead, he kept doing what he'd been doing from the start, showing up and doing the work. But the scale had changed, because once generosity becomes part of your public identity, the bar keeps rising. And soon, one particular story would push that pressure to an entirely new level. The moment that truly tested everything didn't start as controversy. It started as compassion. One particular cleanup involved a homeowner facing serious mobility challenges. The yard had spiraled out of control, and there were reports of potential fines that could make an already difficult situation worse. Spencer stepped in like he always did, mowed the lawn, cleared the overgrowth, restored order, but this time it didn't end with a trimmed yard. As more details about the homeowner's living conditions surfaced, the situation expanded beyond landscaping. Accessibility issues, daily obstacles, basic needs that went far beyond cutting grass. So a fundraiser was launched with the goal of improving her quality of life. That's when things escalated. Donations flooded in faster than anyone anticipated. The total climbed quickly, then kept climbing. What was meant to be support suddenly became national attention. News outlets picked it up, comment sections exploded, and with large sums of money involved, the tone online shifted almost overnight. Supporters celebrated the generosity. Skeptics started asking how everything would be handled. It was no longer just about a yard transformation. It was about trust, transparency, and responsibility at scale. And from that point forward, SB Mowing wasn't operating in the shadows of a local business anymore. It was standing in the spotlight. As the donations continued to rise, the conversation grew louder. What began as overwhelming support slowly turned into intense scrutiny. Online forums dissected every detail. People wanted clarity on how the money would be managed, how long it would last, and who was overseeing it. Not because everyone doubted the intention, but because when large amounts of money move quickly on the internet, questions are inevitable. And those questions spread fast. Some critics suggested that viral fundraising can spiral beyond its original purpose. Others argued that this was simply the internet doing what it does best, amplifying generosity. Supporters pushed back, pointing out Spencer's consistent track record of helping people long before any fundraiser existed. The pressure to respond grew. Instead of engaging in public arguments, updates were shared explaining that the funds were being structured carefully, aimed at long-term accessibility improvements rather than short-term spending. The focus wasn't flashy upgrades, it was sustainability, stability, independence. That reassurance calmed much of the speculation, but something had clearly shifted. SB Mowing was no longer just producing satisfying transformations. It had stepped into a space where accountability mattered just as much as impact. And once you cross that line, there's no going back to being just a lawn channel. After the dust settled, something unexpected happened. SB Mowing didn't slow down. If anything, the uploads became more consistent. The cleanups continued. New homeowners were helped. The formula that built the channel remained intact. Find a yard that feels forgotten, restore it, and leave without charging a dime. But now there was a new layer beneath it all. Awareness. The spotlight had forced a shift. Every project carried more weight. Viewers weren't just watching for satisfying cuts anymore. They were watching for follow-through, for proof that the impact extended beyond the video. That level of scrutiny can overwhelm a creator, but Spencer seemed to treat it as responsibility instead of pressure. And that's part of the untold story. Many creators chase viral moments. Few successfully navigate what comes after. SB Mowing had crossed into a space where kindness wasn't just content, it was expectation. And maintaining trust at that scale requires consistency, over time, not just one emotional moment. Today, the channel continues to grow, but it feels different, more deliberate, more intentional. Because once you've experienced how powerful your platform can be, you can't pretend it's just about mowing grass anymore. And that realization may be the biggest transformation of all. Here's what most people miss when they talk about SB Mowing. It's easy to frame the story around one viral fundraiser or one wave of scrutiny. But zoom out and you see something bigger unfolding. The channel didn't collapse under pressure. It didn't pivot into drama. It didn't start chasing shock value for clicks. Instead, it quietly kept doing what built the audience in the first place. That consistency matters. Because in the world of viral creators, many burn bright and fade fast. One controversy, one misstep, one poorly handled moment, and portfolios, and the audience moves on. SB Mowing, however, seems to have taken the long game approach. No dramatic rebrands, no defensive rants, just steady uploads and visible results. At the same time, the influence has clearly expanded. Other lawn care creators have started filming free cleanups. Transformation-style content has surged across platforms. Whether intentional or not, SB Mowing helped shape that trend. The ripple effect is real. But with influence comes a new challenge. How do you grow without losing authenticity? How do you keep helping without turning generosity into performance? That balancing act may be the real untold story. Not the money, not the headlines, but the responsibility that comes with millions of people watching. And that's a story still being written. So what's the real untold story of SB Mowing? It's not just about viral lawns or a fundraiser that exploded beyond expectations. It's about what happens when a small, honest business suddenly carries the weight of millions of eyes. Spencer didn't set out to become a symbol of online generosity. He set out to mow grass. But somewhere along the way, the mission grew bigger than the mower. The channel evolved from satisfying transformations to something deeper, a test of trust, transparency, and long-term responsibility. And instead of crumbling under scrutiny, it adapted. That's the part people don't always see. SB Mowing's story isn't one dramatic twist. It's a gradual shift from local service to national spotlight, from simple content to meaningful impact. And maybe that's why it continues to resonate. Because at its core, this isn't just about cutting grass. It's about what happens when kindness scales. And whether it can stay real when the whole world is watching.